Welcome to Sex with Rebecca, a show geared towards relationships and sexuality that'll help you enjoy your relationships more than you ever thought possible. So send us your difficult questions and we'll bring you expert answers unlike anywhere else. On tonight's show, we'll be talking about bringing sexy back, answering an email on male chastity belts, and giving you some hot tips to turn up the heat. Let's begin with our discussion on bringing sexy back with our very special guest, sex coach Carlyle Jansen, a trailblazer in promoting healthy sexuality. Welcome, Carlyle. It's always a great pleasure to have you in studio with us.
It's always lots of fun to be here with you.
Well, speaking of which, let's start having some fun. Now, before we begin, maybe you can share the top 3 reasons that people lose that sexy feeling before we talk about actually bringing it back.
Yeah, so stress is a huge killer of our libido, and whether it's stress about the relationship, about life, about kids, about work, that really makes it hard for people to get into the mood and feel sexy. Also not feeling like you are sexy, feeling like, oh, my body's changed, or, feeling like who's going to be attracted to me. That low sexual self-esteem really cuts into it. And I think also that we expect that it's all supposed to be magical like it is in Hollywood, and that we're always attracted to each other, and it just magically happens, and if it doesn't, there's something wrong. But it's not. That's just one of the ebbs and flows of relationships.
Right, and it's nice that it's not always the same where you're ripping clothes off each other. Who can maintain this intensity?
Yes.
So it's good that there are times where it's just relaxed. There's times it's just about connecting, and it's just feeling sexy however you are. It's a lot about the how we feel about ourselves too. So really good points. And sometimes we also don't, like you talked about, the body don't feel good. Body's changing, our longings change. They can be age-related changes. The brain can sometimes habituate to the same old, so you're not feeling sexy, and we can disconnect with our sensuality when all of that happens. So is there a way of reconnecting with that sexy self?
Yeah, absolutely. We need to, mindfulness is one of these buzzwords these days, but it really makes a big difference. And just starting to notice, when you're walking along the street, just how am I walking, listening to the birds. When you're eating, take that sensuality and really notice what tastes so good. When you're putting lotion on your body, just like feel your body. Start paying attention to those little things, because if you miss them, you're going to be missing those other cues as well.
Absolutely. And these are sensory things. I like the example of the food, because I could just pop something in my mouth and not notice it, but if I really notice it, then it tastes better. And sex is like that too. You don't want to just kind of do it, but if you're really focusing on the sensory stimuli, my God, it's just bursting with excitement. And then, once you start to reconnect with your sensual self, you start to sometimes crave sex again, which is what people stop doing when they don't feel sexy. But some people, now you're feeling sexy after tonight's show and you're craving sex again. But then comes the part where some people will struggle with asking their partner for what they want out of shyness, coyness, maybe fear of hurting their partner's feelings, or maybe they just don't even know how to do that. So maybe you can give us some pointers on the best way to ask for what we want, because let's face it, if you're not getting what we want, after a while we'd stop wanting sex altogether.
Absolutely. So I have 2 tips. One is when you're not having sex. So when you're, having a little check-in, you're having coffee, a glass of wine, it's called 3 oranges and a lemon. So 3 things that you love about your erotic connection and 1 request for something different. So I love the way you touch me all over my body. I love the way that you, try different things and bring new toys into the bedroom. I love the way you kiss me deeply. And, I wish that you would maybe touch me a little bit more before you go for my clitoris. Or, I'd love to experiment with this kind of play, so something that you want differently.
That's lovely, because you have praised them, so it's not like you're doing something wrong. So the sexual ego has already gotten a bit of a boost, and it's ready to hear, what else can I do to make my partner happy? Because I am making them happy. Look at these 3 things.
Yeah, and that also tells your partner, okay, I'm going to keep doing those things.
Exactly, exactly. And I know how to make them happy. I'm going to keep doing those things, and I'll throw this little extra in. That's awesome.
When you're in the moment, one thing you like about what your partner's doing, 1 thing you want differently. I like the speed. Could you go a little softer, please? I love the part of your fingers you're using. Can you make the stroke a little longer? And give your partner that kind of feedback when you're in the moment.
Awesome. So you're talking about sort of like when you want something extra when you're not in the moment, and then when you're in the moment, you can just kind of, and you know, we're moaning, we're groaning, we're getting wet, we're getting excited. So it is easier for them to just, I just need to make the stroke a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome. Now, how about feeling sexy to our partner? What can help there? Because a lot of times it stops there. We're not feeling sexy.
So I would ask your partner, what do you think is sexy about me? What are you attracted to? Because sometimes we think like our curves are in the wrong place, or we don't have the body we used to have. And very often our partners are like, I love you the way you are.
Yeah.
You know, don't try and change. Don't try and do something different. You know, and you know, the thing that people are most attracted to, confidence.
Confidence, yeah.
It's not about what your body looks like, it's how do you carry it, how do you feel about it, how do you celebrate it. And so find your unique beauty and your unique hotness and celebrate that and show that off to your partner.
And relax.
Yes.
Because when people are uptight, then, you know, the partner thinks, am I doing something wrong? They're not into it, and then they can get performance anxiety, and it creates a bit of a vicious cycle.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Great stuff, Carlyle. Still ahead, lots more tips on getting sexy back, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Sex with Rebecca, a show where we bring you expert advice on important matters to help your relationships be more intimate, exciting, and emotionally fulfilling. We've been discussing bringing sexy back with our very special guest, sex coach Carlyle Jansen. Carlyle, always fun. Now, when a couple is in the dating stage, they take care of themselves, they dress to impress, they focus on the good in each other versus constantly nitpicking, and they make a real effort to be present, and you were alluding to mindfulness before. But it seems to get lost along the way. So can you please discuss why date nights are so important to recapture that feeling, and indeed what they should look like, if there's some rules along with suggestions for fun adventures, because you have such good ideas, versus that dinner and movie option where, you know, people do that every single time.
So make it like a first date. Don't stop dating. Don't go out in your, you know, track pants and a t-shirt. Dress up like it's a date, and plan something fun. Go to an escape room.
Oh, those are fun.
You know, do a picnic, rent a boat, find some kind of interesting talk. Like, what's something that's new and exciting and interesting that both of you to share together, and make it a fun event. And you can take turns. Who plans, right? Like once a month I plan something fun and different. Once a month you plan something fun and different. And then, you know, the other times we do something that's maybe a little bit more regular, but a little bit of effort takes it up that notch. And when you're out, no phones.
No phones. I love that. It is because there's nothing more disconcerting. Here we're on a date and our partner, we're talking to them, and even though they might be hearing it, I was guilty because I could multitask. I could hear every single thing, but at the same time, you know, I got to quickly get this text out. You know, I'm giving an appointment, whatever, and I didn't realize how hurtful it is because I'm coming across as not being interested, even though I'm interested.
Yeah.
So showing the interest, I think, and when you plan different things, then naturally you're more curious, you're more alive. It's not like the movie where you put on your track pants because the cinema is going to be too cold.
Yeah.
So again, when you're doing new things, and I like the alternating because then the onus isn't always on one party.
Right. Yeah.
And then if you don't like what your partner plans, let's face it,
Yeah.
next month you can plan what you like
Yeah.
and maybe teach them something new.
Yeah, and it's nice to keep that adventure, that surprise, right? Like, I've got something planned for Saturday night, and you're like, what is that? You know, that's really fun. And no talking about work, and no talking about the kids.
And finances and chores. Because, I mean, if you're on a first date, that's not what you would do.
Yeah.
You'd just be trying to impress each other.
Yeah.
And you're interested in each other's dreams. You're interested in what the other person's all about. And we do change. So we never have to assume that I know everything about my partner. Because on a daily basis, their dreams, their hopes, things are changing. So it's a great way of connecting.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. Now, how about the rest of the week? How can couples, you know, connect consistently? Let's say you have your date night. And I always say, you know, keep that steady night so you can kind of look forward to it. But through the rest of the week, how can they connect, like, you know, teasing, and what sort of stuff they can do to recapture those initial stages?
So I love that, you know, technology has its pluses and minuses, and one of its pluses is that you can text a little sexy message during the day. You know, I love how you ravished me last night. You know, I'm looking forward to our sexy time tonight, or you looked so hot or sexy on the way out the door this morning.
Can't wait to grab you.
Yeah, those little things go a long way to feeling like, oh, you know, you notice me, you feel sexy, that feels good. It keeps that fire going. You know, I even will mail a card to my partner's work. We don't get mail anymore, right?
I know, right?
And there's so many fun cards that you can get. You can draw one yourself, or you can go to a card store, and it's so nice. You don't have to write a lot in it.
It's tangible. You can put it on your desk, and it's like having flowers. You know, you see it, and you say, "My partner thought of me." So you're saying when you're not together, you can use technology to connect with each other, but when you're together, keep the technology away. I tell people that in general, they should take ideally an hour, but at least half an hour every evening that's technology free. Nothing, not even television. And it's amazing how we're more deliberate in connecting with each other. Wow. So good dates, they take good planning, as does good sex. With our busy lifestyles, if you don't plan it, it's not likely to happen. And what I'm finding is couples who say it has to be spontaneous, they're not getting it on nearly as much as couples who plan for it because their lives are busy and they look forward to it. So can you please talk about that? You know, couples who just get stuck and it needs to be spontaneous, because it's not happening for those couples.
Yeah, well, and I think that's the myth of Hollywood. And I think that it's okay to plan. You have to plan if you want to go to dinner with your sister or to the dentist. And sometimes you have to plan dates with your partner. That can be indoor dates and outdoor dates. It's okay. It doesn't take away from the sexiness and the passion. And then you can plan things like getting a sitter, ordering takeout, you know, getting the house cleaned beforehand. You know, whatever it is that you need to help you kind of relax and be in the moment. Think a little bit about, what do I want to do differently? What do I want to ask for? Planning makes it that much more intentional, and you can make it what you want.
Carla, another reason that we have to be more deliberate is because it doesn't always come as easily as the beginning. You know, when everything is new, shiny, exciting. So can we discuss what a normal looks like down the road so people don't panic?
There's no real one normal. And, you know, the reality is that sometimes orgasms don't happen the way we want them to. Erections don't magically occur the way we hope they will.
Or last the way we want them to.
Yeah, and, you know, that's okay. There's no real normal. So the issue is, who am I and what do I want and what's my pleasure? How can I communicate that? And really accepting that that's who you are. I think if you fight who you are, then that becomes the issue. So learn some new things, learn some new techniques, take a sexy workshop.
You offer a lot of those?
Yeah, so and you can find out those. I have them listed at carlylejansen.com. You can see more about those. You can try new toys, read books, whatever it is to kind of keep it interesting and keep the passion going, because, you know, you don't want burgers every night for dinner. You don't want the same kind of sex all the time.
I think it's really well put, because also, you know, if you have a beautiful garden, a beautiful home, a good career, we're always working hard. Even our golf game, we're always trying to work to get better and better and better. But when it comes to relationships and sexuality, we just sort of assume it's going to happen. And that's not the case. Desire may just come and go, but we need all the extra help. Great information, Carlyle. When we return, Carlyle will give us some more hot tips. So keep the fires burning. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Sex with Rebecca, a show geared towards making your relationships the very best that they can be, both in and out of the bedroom. We've been discussing bringing sexy back with sex coach Carlyle Jansen. Carlyle, we've talked about the importance of maintaining that sexual feeling, which always starts with us, from feeling sexy to being in touch with what feels good, and so on. But many people who complain about their partner not getting them off haven't a clue how to get themselves off. Which is quite the recipe for disaster, isn't it? So can you please discuss how we can know ourselves sexually?
Well, self-pleasure, masturbation is really a big part of that. And it's a great way to practice new things without the pressure of a partner looking at you and saying, is it working?
How's it going on? What's going on down there?
You know, playing with delaying ejaculation or orgasms, finding new erogenous zones, getting in tune with your body. So pleasuring yourself is a really great way to know what you want and be able to ask for what you want and translate that into your relationship.
And you feel sexy too. If you've been pleasuring yourself, you're going to feel pretty good.
Yeah.
And you have a book, Sex Yourself,
right,
which sort of teaches you different ways, because a lot of people don't even know, how do I pleasure myself and how do I get to know my body? So can you give us a real quick synopsis on, like, how can they use that? What can they learn?
So in my book, you can learn about where the different erogenous zones are, U spots and C spots and G spots and P spots, and you know, there's lots of different erogenous.
The whole alphabet, the whole gamut, not just the G spot. Yeah.
But everybody's different, and so what works for you is going to be different for me. So explore all those different areas, and learning different techniques. I really was emphasizing I wanted to have some techniques in my book. So here are things to try, because often people say to me, like, yeah, I talked to my therapist and they said just explore. Like, what am I supposed to do?
What do I do? Give me the tools. Yeah.
Sometimes toys are helpful. You know, it takes a little bit of time, but it can be fun time. It pays off both for your own sexual self-esteem as well as for your relationship.
And of course, it's going to come back into the relationship anyways.
Yeah.
So it really works well. So what I'm hearing is that then, barring any kind of addiction-related behaviors where people can take masturbation to a whole different place, there's lots of ways that it can help you. Now, what happens when people worry that is it going to take away from partnered sex? Can you comment on that? Because some people, I know in my practice, some people start to freak out. They say, okay, my partner's masturbating. That means that they won't want me, or they'll be satisfied, or I won't be able to replicate the touch, because when you're masturbating, you're the giving and the receiving. And can you please sort of speak to that so that partners don't have to worry, and when we're masturbating, we can be mindful of partnered sex?
Yeah, so you can watch how your partner does it, or you can put your hand over your partner to make sure that you do it the same way. But you know what? Don't try and do it the same way, because it's not exactly the same. You know, find different things. Yeah, find some different things. So absolutely use what's there, but also then kind of explore and be creative, because sometimes you can find something new and different on your partner that they haven't discovered for themselves, and that's really fun. And you have a different vantage point. And you know, some people think like, oh, you know, do I masturbate too much? You know, too much is only when it means that you're late for work because you're masturbating, or you're not wanting to go out, you're not wanting to connect. You know, so self-pleasure is a great thing to celebrate, and just try and vary it up. It's really, we get stuck when we're doing the same thing, exactly the same all the time, that then it becomes hard for our brain to accept a different kind of stimulation.
That's it.
So when you're pleasuring yourself, vary it up a little bit. Don't just do the same thing all the time.
Otherwise, the brain kind of gets used to it. It's almost like a muscle. I know it's not muscle, but it can be almost like a muscle memory. And in terms of, is it too much, that's again something where we can be mindful of our partner. Because I know some people, they masturbate excessively and the brain kind of rewires itself. So it's hard to have partner sex, or they get themselves off, so there's no need. So by the time the partner is approaching them, they're already satisfied. It's okay, I'm okay, I'm done now. So as long as you're mindful of that, then the partner doesn't have to worry about that either. So okay, speaking of partners, let's bring it back to partner sex. How can we get creative there? Because we're talking now beyond that creative date. Now we're talking about right in the sack.
Right, yeah. One thing I love to do is play with different moods, right? So for example, oral sex can be very different, whether you're adventurous or curious or sassy, or teasing, or submissive, or I'm in control of your orgasm, right? You can have different moods even just with the same kind of activity. And then the other thing that you can do is try and discover something new. What's different about your partner this time? Maybe there's, you know, a little mole you didn't notice before, or they're specifically sensitive on this little part that you didn't notice. So try and discover and make it as though you're having sex for the first time.
That's so important. If you make it like it's sex for the first time,
robotic. Same
that
thing,
way
same
that it's
thing.
new, it's adventurous, and you're trying to impress them, meaning you're trying to be invested in their body as opposed to just going through a particular routine. But I like that idea of discovery. And we ourselves can also try to teach our partner, like just moving from laying back and, you know, they're between your legs, they're trying to balance themselves and do things for you. Maybe you want to mount their face.
Right.
And you can grind into them and you can let them know, hey, this is what I like. And you can teach them the pressure, because it's not just the spot. And that changes too, particularly for women through the cycle. The intensity, the pressure, the speed, all that can change. So can you give us a quick, you know, some kind of a pointer on how we can teach our partner? Now we're talking specifically about sex. You talked about the 3 oranges and the lemon, but in terms of just technique, you talked about taking their hand, placing it there. Is there something you can do with movement as well?
Absolutely. I mean, you can move the way you want to. I mean, I love to say with oral sex, especially on women, tell your partner, just leave your tongue in one spot and you just move against it, right? Because we don't know what to do for ourselves. We can't do it ourselves.
Like the mechanical tongue. I love it. I always have so much fun with you. Thank you so much, Carlyle, for all your remarkable insights. Still ahead, an email on male chastity belts and special tips to maintain your sexy. Welcome back to Sex with Rebecca, geared towards making your relationships more robust than you ever thought possible. So send us your questions and we'd love to bring you expert advice. Today's question is from John. Hi Rebecca, I'm wondering if you have some guidance for introducing a male chastity cage in our relationship with my girlfriend holding the key. Specifically, we want to know about how much control she should have, the duration I should wear the cage, and overall control from her. Thank you for your insightful show. Signed, John. John, sounds like you guys have a healthy relationship to be discussing these things openly and to experiment with something that takes a lot of trust and safety. Now, in order to answer your questions, I'm wondering about the reasons you're considering this. If you'll get pleasure from wearing it, then she should be in charge of doling out orders, like getting you to clean the house, for instance, and then rewarding you with it. But if you're a little scared and doing it for the control aspect, then she could punish you with it for not obliging. She may also make you wear it when she isn't around to keep you chaste, if you may, possibly even for your own self. And the keys must always be with her. That said, since you have to get used to it and build up your tolerance gradually, you should start off with shorter periods of time initially. So if she won't be around to unlock you through that stage, then you can get something that has a time release box for the key. It's also great when either one of you has to travel, but you still want to keep going. Now, some key boxes, they can be timed for as long as 9 days. And since we're talking about different options, not to mention safety and comfort, I'd invest in something really high quality. You certainly don't want any chafing or other problems. For instance, the cheap ones, they can cause issues with heat, water, security, etc. Someone that I respect dearly recommended that you check out holytrainer.com. Very secure. And of course, the psychological piece is just as critical. If there isn't enough teasing, reward, and punishment, people can lose interest really easily. I'm so excited that you guys are birds of a feather who can play with cages together. Have fun, but always keep it safe with a healthy safety net and pre-negotiated agreements. To our audience, if you have any questions of your own, do write us. We love your involvement. Speaking of which, if you enjoy the show, we'd really like you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Still ahead, some hot fun, but some hot toys. So do stick around. Welcome back to Sex with Rebecca. Now, before we close, we have a very special segment for you for some hot fun with some hot toys. And to help me with that, we're being joined by Danielle Morris from Aren't We Naughty Stores, the people who put the play back in foreplay. You've got something really interesting here. Tell me, do tell.
Yes, so today I brought, it's the AutoBlow 2 Plus. This is a very powerful automated stroking device for men. It takes away the manual use from traditional male masturbators. So simply you plug this into any wall outlet. You can turn it on at the bottom with a turn dial, and you can control the speed, and it automatically strokes up and down on the shaft of the penis. So.
Awesome. So you don't even need to use your hands like you said, in the traditional ones. And I see that this like an oral insert. So is it always the same standard size, or is it different sizes, different inserts? What do you have?
Autoblow does come out with 3 different sizes. So I brought the B with us, which is their most popular size, but they do come out with an A, a B, and a C, and it depends on the girth size. So A is for someone who's about 3 to 4 inches of girth, B about 4 to 5.5, and then C 5.5 to 6.5.
Wow, it looks really, really amazing. So in essence, so this is used and it's easy to clean. Is it silicone?
It is a very nice, realistic skin-like material, and it's very easy to clean. The insert simply slides out, and you can use a nice toy cleaner on it. Clean it, keep it dry, and then replace it right back into the device
That's
afterwards.
amazing. And I think this would be awesome for, people who get so used to masturbating with the hands, they just cannot orgasm with penetrative sex. So this is a great way of retraining the penis so that they can get used to that.
Exactly. It gives someone a little alternative into the traditional male masturbating.
Okay, well, it's awesome, and I think I'm so glad that there's more and more men's toys. Traditionally, there's been like tons of female toys, but not enough for guys. So it's really good to see that there's something out there for guys too. Thank you so much. I'm sure all of our male audience thank you as well, and thank you, viewers, for joining us tonight. Be sure to tune in again next week, and don't forget to email us your questions and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch up on missed episodes, to watch your favorite shows again, and to access some pretty hot stuff that can't be aired on TV. I'm Rebecca Rosenblatt, your host, wishing you happy, healthy, and passionate relationships. Until next time.